You are listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us on bringjoyforward.com and join us in our community group on Facebook. We now take you to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, everybody, to our episode on joy and what it means and how we go about finding it and all that good stuff. I am Shannon Dias, and I'm joined by Marlisa McLaughlin, who is joining us audio only. And then we have Ramona Crabtree-Falkner, Stacy Piccolo, and Shannon Brown. So we have the whole crew with us here today. And I'm going to let you in on a little tiny secret. This is round 2 for us because Shannon forgot to hit record on the first time on this podcast. So we're all human, you guys. So we're going to talk about joy today. And I'm going to mix it up completely. And I'm going to start and say, joy for me is something that I do not seek out. I just put myself in places where I have the opportunity for joy. And I think that aspect of just really putting yourself in a space where you are allowing anything to come at you and allowing yourself to really feel, to really breathe into it, and to be in that moment so that the unexpected can happen. And, when you're in those spaces of seeking out that opportunity where, joy generally comes, you find it a little easier, but just putting yourself in that opportunity for it. And so let's start out by talking about what is joy to you, Ramona Falkner? What does it mean for you?
So I believe that joy is our innate truth. Like we don't have to earn it. It is who we are. We have come into this 3D form, and our ego minds have been developed, which causes us to have illusion. In yoga, we call that the Maya. And the illusion is that things are outside of us, that we have to seek out. We have to seek them out, when in truth, they're everything we need to know, everything that we need for ourselves is within us. So it's when we are looking outside of ourselves and expecting something else to bring us the joy that we are suffering. The suffering is the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the stress, the tension, what have you. All of those things are the illusions that keep you from the awareness of pure joy. So how do I access it? By cultivating practices of meditation, of quieting myself, of being present. And, I think that really enjoying the moment, being in the moment is such a beautiful practice. I shared this last week during my Joy Challenge. And I talked about how when I went to Minnesota earlier this year, that there was all these cornfields, and we would just turn a corner and be like, oh my gosh, there's more corn. And it, the silliest thing in the world, corn. But that is what lit me up. And I felt this joy because I was experiencing something that where I live in Florida is not something I'm going to turn the corner and see. And pretty much literally every farm that we pass had cornfields in it. And so I just kept being giddy. And that's why I find it so important to have experiences elsewhere, because you can get so trapped in the mundane, like, oh, this is my life every single day. I remember moving to Texas, and someone was like, why would you move from Orlando, Florida to come to Texas? And I'm like, because I've lived in Orlando, Florida my whole life. I didn't know anything else. So going out and having those experiences really invites us to access that joy and that wonder, right? So if we look towards the eyes of a child, it's curiosity and wonder and excitement and wow, look at this new thing. So when we can peel away the voice of responsibility and reason, then we can just play. And that's where I believe that joy can be found, is when we can be a little more playful with ourselves and not so serious.
Yes, no adulting. Adulting is overrated.
Yes.
Access those little spaces and travel and adventure, and just it doesn't have to be, you don't have to travel to another country to have an adventure that is different. It's just looking for those different spaces where you are not just floating through this thing that you do all the time. You're noticing.
Mhm.
We're talking about, childlike wonder and getting excited over the little things. I recently learned that those are called glimmers. So I love that that's a title that's used for it, because it's always the shiny things, right? That, I always say, oh, look, a shiny thing. So we're talking about that childlike wonder. And I want to juxtaposition that a little bit too with, that. And then joy is sometimes a difficult thing too. We're all carrying these burdens and these struggles in there. And I happen to know that Shannon has a story that she can tell about the two of those working together.
Well, yes, I do. So, yes, I take care of two grandkids, a 4-year-old grandson and 2-year-old granddaughter. And so I kind of have an in on joy because they are so full of joy at everything new. Everything new. We can be outside walking, and Caden will find a rock that's in the shape of a heart. And he knows I love hearts. And he'll be like, Grandma, it's a heart. It's for you. I found it for you. And he's so happy, and I'm so happy because I can then add it to my heart collection that I have. And then today I was working on something that just wasn't fun to be working on. We all have those things. And my granddaughter kept bringing me her toys. I kept saying, when I get off the phone, I can play. I must have had 20 toys around me when, because she's just like, maybe if I bring her this toy, she'll play with me. But she was having fun just bringing everything in. And then I finally got off and I picked up a toy, and it's several pieces. So it's in a Ziploc bag, and she couldn't get it open. So I'm trying to open it up, and she is just squealing with delight and jumping up and down because she's so happy to be playing with this toy, which was actually little letters and flashcards. And I'm like, well, this is cool. She's really happy that we're playing with something that we're going to learn with. But they constantly remind me to be in the moment. And again, all of us are going through moments that just aren't that fun. And my beautiful friend Ramona is always reminding me, you will see the gratitude, see the beauty, see the joy in this situation. And sometimes it's hard to do that. But then again, I had a hard day yesterday with my parents. When I came home, my husband had a fire for me. He had dinner ready. He sat next to me on the couch and just let me cuddle, which I was like, this is what I need. And it's just that moment, like that I need. And I said, and I did. I told him, I'm like, I'm sorry that you're having to be my rock right now because of what I'm having to go through. And he goes, well, that's just what I do, which is what he does. But just being able to sit still and be next to somebody who loved me, I was. And I'm going to throw this out there too. Saturday, I co-hosted a Reiki healing circle in the morning, and then in the afternoon, my husband and I cleaned out our shed, and then we had a fire in the fire pit, and I did a little charcuterie board, and it was one of my most favorite days I've had in such a long time. It was just such a good day, spending the day with just him, and we were just working together. And I kept telling myself, I need more of these days. And so I am going to look in my phone and my schedule and say, we're going to schedule these days for just us two, because it brought me such joy just to be with him and be outside. So, yes, that's cultivating joy for me, is just finding those moments and then expanding on them.
I love it. I love it. And the scheduling, the intention of putting that aside. Marlisa, do you want to talk a little bit about that, about the intention of finding spaces, honoring the place that we're at when we're not able to find that joy, but the intention of finding those spaces to get in there?
Oh, you just threw me a wing dinger because I was thinking about how
Would you like to
wonderful.
phone a friend?
Yes, I'm going to call my 11-year-old niece Gigi, because Shannon, and thank you for that. I really feel the most joy immediately, most often when I'm in the presence of children, and you don't have to do anything. You can just be together, and gosh, there's nothing. You're talking about the squealing giggles. There is nothing that can pull all of the stops out of all of the tension in your body. To listen to, a child, a baby, and of course, friends, when you can get the belly laughs once you get over all the, you know, stuff of being an adult, like if you can get in that space, but in the instant moment, yeah. Uh, and I think that's a really great thought. I like that you wanted to plan and have that time because there's a whole buildup of wanting to anticipate that you have created space for that. So in the tough times, and they have, all day long, things are going to get thrown in and out of the picture that you might not have planned for. Just waking up and setting the intention that, no matter what today, I'm going to stay close to the upside of everything. And that's what I do to access the upside, is to remember that I intended that to be my life and not to get pulled under and taken away in the currents of a lot of the trials and tribulations. So even just setting that intention, I think, is very powerful. It might not happen every single time, but you have it there, and that's the what did you say? You want to make a call? That's my call. I'll call back to my intention. Like, I'm not going to let this take me down. I'm going to breathe into this, and humor is always such an accessible thing. So
No, I love that. Absolutely. And I want to acknowledge too that my biggest thing that I try to instill on people is you don't need children or to be around children to access the child inside of you. And what better segue for Stacy to jump in on how to play and move your body around and do the things that let go of all those adult things that everybody tells you need to do and just access you, because you are a kid in there. That part of you is still with you. You are every part of you that came before, and that part is still in there. So just how to access that. What do you do?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, um, I believe that we are inherently joyful, as a couple of us have said, and that joy is always accessible. It is always there, but we can't always access it because, we're unconditional, but our ego has put conditions over everything. And it's like the peeling away of the conditions is what allows us to feel joy. And joy is found in the present moment. So, not looking ahead, not behind, but right where you are in the present moment. And a way that's really easy for me to access that is through dancing mindfulness, that you're all familiar with. It's a practice of presence. So as you move your body, you are focused completely. Your attention is focused on your body as it's moving. And you're not thinking, you're not like, you're present on movement. I mean, it's just such a profound practice. And every time I lead a joyful mindfulness, a dancing mindfulness, at the end, everyone is just so joyful and they feel like kids again. And it's just this wonderful practice to share with people. And it's like super exciting for me. And this other thing, I'm glad we're recording again because I think I would have forgot to say this, but I also have a joy practice. I made an YouTube video of it. And basically the practice is just, because when we feel joy or feel even happiness or any positive feeling, we haven't kind of built the container to contain joy and contain love, happiness, all those positive feelings. We've built the container to feel anxiety, stress, anger. That stays with us. We feel it and we carry it sometimes. But joy, sometimes people will feel joy and then it's gone before they even like really had a chance to enjoy it, right? So I used to work with someone and we worked virtually. So someone would say a joke or say something funny and they'd be like, I'm like, oh my God, that left fast, like, whoa. So I realized, I kind of like started to look for signs that I was feeling joy. So it could be my cheeks, like I'm smiling and my cheeks feel like plump, or it could be like a feeling like rising in my chest. And as soon as I feel those things that are signs for me, I kind of like zoom in and I sit there and I allow the feeling to rise. I build a space to feel joy within. And it's just such a nice practice. Like you're marinating in it and you feel more of it and you feel more of it. And then you're aware of it. Like you said, you look for the opportunities to feel joy. Well, it's in our own bodies. Well, let's just look for it there, and when it comes, enjoy the joy. Um,
Enjoy
and
the
yeah,
joy.
and
Hey,
yeah,
wait,
I
let's
mean,
pause for a second. Enjoy the joy. I
yeah,
like it. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Tell me when I can go again.
You can go again.
Okay.
I'm not in charge here.
Well, you paused us, so I figured
I
you'd bring us
did.
back.
Because I wanted us to stay in that moment for just a second longer so
Okay.
we could
Yeah.
acknowledge
Yeah.
that awesomeness. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone right now, like, feel your face, feel your insides. What does
Yeah.
it feel like? Be curious about it. Enjoy that it's there. Spend some time with it. I guess that's what I'm saying. And I think there was one other thing, but I can't really remember. Oh, that what I texted you about basically was I, okay. So basically, I have been through a lot of really difficult things that maybe some people wouldn't have survived. But since I was able to feel like horrible, awful things, I also feel like the scope of my emotional gradients has gotten bigger. So the depths of which I felt sorrow, anger, all these things, I feel joy to that depth, right? This is my understanding of it. So I was writing a book and thinking the name could be There's Always Joy in the Background, because no matter what was happening, I did know and feel and sense that there was still joy there. And so I just realized this like a week ago, and I texted Shannon and I was like, oh my God, you named this Bring Joy Forward. And I said how there's always joy in the background. And like, here we are. How cool is that? Like, we're bringing it forward. So that's my little thing on joy.
I love that. I love the flow of all of it, right? All of the little pieces coming together, and we need each other. You commented about just noticing it and then it's growing. It's the same thing that you did as a kid where somebody was laughing and you laid on their stomach and then you couldn't help but laugh, and then somebody was laid on your stomach and you can help but laugh, right? It's like it's contagious, right? How many of us watch these videos where we're watching the video because we're watching the person who is enjoying it and laughing, and so we're getting our own, we have no idea like we're not, it's not even funny what they're laughing about, right? But we're just so into this person exuding this so much joy, right? Because it's the purity of it, right? That's there's having fun and there's all this other stuff, but joy is pure. It's coming from this space where it's just, I see it as this bright light and nothing can touch it, right? So it's like you said, it's in the background, it's always there underneath. Sometimes it's just been piled on and piled on and piled on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I walk with grief. We've talked about this, before. We'll talk about it often because it's the journey that I walk, right? But there was blackness for a long time. There was all of this piled on top that I couldn't see that. But even in those moments, there was still laughter. The family was gathered together and laughing about things that Zach, said and did that made us laugh, right? We found joy in that moment, in that present moment, by remembering him and his antics and the things he did, or something that happened in that moment where we said Zach would have loved that, and we're laughing at that. So it's this combination of past, present, and future, right? Because that's who we are. We dream, we go backwards, we're analyzing what our lives are. We're in this space between our humanness and our spiritual side, and so we're kind of flowing through that all the time. But joy itself is this pure white light that we have to allow for it to be out and to grow, to give it more of those opportunities. I use art and play in pretty much every aspect of my life. And that's what I'm doing in even all of my healing. It's art and play, because it puts me in that space for me that is the most open, the most able to receive that joy as it's coming in, as it's there, and the most able to recognize it, right? um, just talking a little bit about that, that opportunity, um, for it can be in the smallest things, pretty much every time Ramona and I do anything together, there's much laughter that happens, while we're doing that. And it's in those, small things that we notice, and we just go with that flow for that one little thing. I can't remember if you talked about the wheat fields before we recorded or not. But
The
do you, the
cornfield.
cornfields, I mean, yeah. Was that before or after? If not,
No,
why don't you? Okay.
it's here.
Okay. So yeah, it's that same type of thing where we can share with each other in that moment. So that's part of it too, is it's not just putting yourself in that opportunity, but it's also, I like to collect people. So it's that aspect of it too, where you're collecting the people, like everybody that's in this room right now. I feel like, they're in my little basket of joyful people. They're people who I love to be around, and who, um, not just bring me joy, but also are there to be in that space with me when I don't see it, when the light is not on.
That's really beautiful, Shannon. And it, I think if there's any one thing we could call joy that's not joy, it would be glue, because it does really hold and bind us together in our hearts in such an organic, flowy, beautiful, effortless way when we find it and we feel connected to one another. And like you said, it's the contagion of laughter that really helps that flow continue to move through us. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Why don't we all, take a minute, or less than that, but to kind of like laundry list a few suggestions for people who are listening, who are just like, I hear what you're saying, but I just can't get there. How do I get there? What do I do? Where do I start? What do I look for? Let's just list out a few of our go-to items, and maybe some tips for somebody out there who's struggling to find it.
Okay, I'll go first. So one thing, like I said, is the signs of when you start to feel happy. Like, I think there's a little difference between happiness and like true joy and bliss, right? But like as soon as you feel happy, if you notice that, and like I said, marinate in that, you can get to a more and more joyful place. You can continue to experience it and widen your capacity. But another thing is, like you were talking about intention. So if you have the intention to look at things with childlike wonder, so if I'm outside and I'm just like going to be really curious and I'm going to inspect things and just be like in awe about them and really like be present and enjoy the things that I'm looking at. So it's also a practice of presence. So that is where I find joy. But yeah, those are my two quick things.
So one of the things that I really actively seek out is the gift. So having gratitude to me is one of the greatest tools to help access more joy, because then we can actually like be looking for things from a place of higher vibration of love. And so when I'm seeking out um, things to be grateful for, even in the mess, then that's when we find what I call the gold, right? The gift. So, what is the gift of this situation? So, if I'm actively looking at a scenario that is, I mean, like I'm crying, I'm on the floor in a puddle of, of my tears. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? I immediately have to go, wait a second, you know why this is happening. It is because it is part of your healing. It is a part of your soul asking you to step further into the awareness of what what is being gifted to you, And so then whenever I seek out the gift, when I look and I go, okay, what am I gaining from this situation? What am I being gifted in this situation? It completely shifts my perspective from one of lack or fear or worry into, okay, I can be grateful for this, even if it's messy. Because it's really easy to be grateful for the easy things that are light.
Yes.
It's really
Yeah.
easy to be like, woohoo, I'm going to hang out with the
Yeah.
lake and play in the water, and woohoo, that feels great. Going to the beach and watching the sunset, and woohoo, that's great. That's easy. I feel like someone stepped over every one of my boundaries and I'm losing my crap. That's not easy, but that is where it's
Right.
most necessary.
Right.
That
Yeah,
is
I
where
love
it's
what you
most,
said. I'm just add something
yeah.
quick to that is I feel like when every boundary is broken and you're on the floor in a puddle, I feel like you're like, you can't skip that part. So like you're feeling that that's rising, you've had it, you're crying, right? But now is the time when you can like feel surrendered, Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it's like that's the time when you can find the gifts. I mean, you might find them before, you might notice them, but at that point when you're surrendered, you can pick out the gifts. You can feel like an inner serenity and calm, and that is another great time for look for joy,
Yeah,
in my experience.
absolutely.
So I'm just going to give a couple of little things that I do. I'm usually around my house. I don't get out much because of the grandkids, which is fine. But if I'm feeling stressed, I can step outside like Stacy and I find my dog and talk about someone that has unconditional love. Oh, you want to pet me? Okay, I'll let you pet me, or even just watching her try to catch squirrels, and it's kind of like watching the Roadrunner and the coyote. Seriously, the squirrel and the dog have a relationship. She doesn't really want to catch the squirrel, but that's their game they play. So just being able to do that brings me joy. If I'm in a space where I'm not able to do that, I can whip out my phone and look at pictures on my phone of my grandchildren, of my animals, of my family, and that can bring me back to joy in an instant. And then if we're really, I'm just not getting there, I'm just going, you know what? I'm joy, and I'm tapping it out. I'm just like, I can
Yes,
release
tap it
whatever
out.
this anger is or whatever this feeling is, and I can bring that feeling of joy to me right now. And did you hear that release already? I just
Mhm.
immediately. So those are my quick tips. Find an animal, look at your pictures of everybody you love, or tap it out.
I love that. Yeah, tap it out,
That's
definitely.
great. That's great. Marlisa?
I like everything everybody said, and a little bit of everything seems to be like I'm a variety girl, so it seems like it can be certain different things. But one of the things that comes quickest to mind, like the thing that can set me into a completely different state in a heartbeat, is listening to some really great dance music. Like just turning on the music and letting myself dance it out. So yeah, Stacy, you're like all about the dance thing, and so I can really relate to that.
Awesome.
Also, remembering these things that I used to love to do that I haven't done in a long time because I just hadn't been around the opportunity. Like, you guys remember? Well, up in New England when the leaves are falling, to get the wax paper out and iron the leaves in, together, the leaves in between the wax paper, and put them in the window. Like anything that is so easy to do that I haven't done in a while, making a little digging in the soil in the garden and then getting the little gnomes to look a certain way and creating a theme. Like it's the play. It's all
Yeah.
those simple things. And if it's doing the dishes or, one of these rote boring activities, not making it, it's the intention of like not letting that moment be boring, just having a good time if you're alone or with somebody, just being in that place, intending to make it lively, creative. It's really that creative eye to change the perspective so you can get the energy flowing so that your cheeks, like you were saying, Stace, like you can begin to feel this whole emergence of that emotion, and it just expands and expands and expands. So
Yeah.
grabbing onto those times.
Yeah, I love what you said
I love-
because I think like most people, I don't know if I interrupted you because I can't see you.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay. People forget how to play as adults. If you tell someone to play, they're just like, all right, what should I do? But like you said, remembering, thinking back to what you did is a great idea because there was something at some point, right, that brought up joy. And I was just thinking, I wonder if I like gotta skip it. And because I used to love the skip it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No.
So, oh yeah, you
Yeah.
put it around one ankle and you swing it and jump
Oh
over
yeah.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to just do that forever and just smile and laugh. And I wonder how that would be now. So maybe I'll check it out. Thanks, Marlisa.
There's your
Now,
challenge.
Yes, the
now I
skip
want
it
to get some
challenge.
double Dutch. I want
Oh
to get some
yeah,
double
like
Dutch going.
right? It's so
Yeah.
look, we're joyful just remembering,
Right.
Yeah.
and we've been forced to remember in this moment.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
we're giving answers, and it just happened so quickly
Yeah.
and naturally. I didn't mean forced that you have our arms behind our back, but we've got the question posed to us, and it
There
just
you
still
go.
even happened regardless, because it does. You're right. It really, joy just wants its president wants to be dominant. It's just like the expansion and the heart opening.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you all touched on a bunch, so I'll just say two things real quick. Like just something that you don't have to be an active participant in, like just something that brings you joy. So if there's a funny TV show or movie or something like that, or watching animals do silly things on this YouTube or whatever, something like that you can be passive, and put yourself into that space. And then the other thing too is that sometimes it's just a matter of contentment and not joy. You're not getting to that space of joy. You're lifting it up, and you're getting yourself into a place where you're feeling content, sitting in that moment, doing whatever it is that you're doing in that moment, which is a step away from feeling overwhelmed or anxious, right? So it doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm going right from here to I'm bubbling over laughing about cornfields.
Right.
It's yeah, there are stages in between, and just know that whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeling is okay, is right for you. And these are just tools and suggestions to get you to those spaces, to allow that to bubble up. I think that's actually a good spot to end it for today, unless anybody has anything else that they wanted to add in.
I have a silly thing. I just remembered it, and I wasn't raised in a religious background where we sung a lot in church. I had the Catholic upbringing, so we did not have joyful tunes, but we had to learn. I've got that joy, 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 joy down in my heart, and I love to sing that when I really need a boost because it just gets me going, and I often want to say it all the time, but not in public, because then it has to go to, the love of Jesus, and not everybody has that connection to that. So I love that song, and I just wanted to bring it up because the beat to that song just lifts you right up, and me anyway, instantly. So
Well, and that's a great spot to to end it. Is we'll give you some homework. And what is your song? What song brings you joy? Find that and get that thing on a saved playlist somewhere so that you can pull that up. We appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah,
You
let
can
us know
find
if
us.
you're in our. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead,
Oh,
Stacy.
I think we're on like a big delay. But okay, I was just gonna say, yeah, if you do your homework and you find your favorite song that brings you joy, share it in our Facebook group if you're with us there. We'd love to hear it too.
Absolutely. So you can join us on Facebook. We are Bring Joy Forward on there as a page and also as a group. And then you can also find us and all the different ways to follow us and get involved and be in our private membership community, all at bringjoyforward.com. Thank you so much, and go out there and have a magical day. You have been listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us at bringjoyforward.com, and we'd love to have you join us in our community Facebook group. Thank you for listening.